Hey, Rachel DeMille here. In this section, I'm going to talk about mentoring grandchildren. And as I prepared this, it was interesting to me how many of my thoughts really coincided with the presentation on mentoring adult children. It was kind of shocking to me, honestly, that I had kind of the same ideas of what to share and how to share it. And I think it's because I started out the mentoring adult children presentation by saying, don't, which is kind of counterintuitive because we're all about mentors and classics and we're all about, the family and the phases, and the whole thing was about mentoring adult children. But the thing about mentoring adult children is how important it is that we communicate our confidence in the roles and in the phases of life. And by stepping back and having restraint, we communicate that level of trust in who they are, who they're becoming, your acknowledgement of them in the peerage of being adult with you, not, under you, without, abdicating your role as an elder in the tribe and so forth. And I did talk about that. But by the same token, there are boundaries in mentoring grandchildren that are perhaps more important to teach than any specific skill or knowledge that we have to impart. One of the most important things about mentoring grandchildren is empowering and fostering a solid relationship between the child and their parents. Even if the parents are imperfect, because guess what they are, and by the way, so are we. Even if they do things that we don't agree with, and of course they will, because they're not you, they're not me, we need to have the grace and the maturity to communicate to those grandkids that we revere their parents, we respect their parents, we trust those parents to really do right by those kids. And we need to, in every possible way, reinforce the trust, the bond, the connection there, and in no way diminish it or in any way challenge it or try and fix it. I mean, if there is an occasion, an instance where the children truly are in danger, it's our job to get in there and do what it takes to remove them from an actually dangerous situation. Apart from that, we have to build on what's good and help them to make the most of that situation, even when it's different than what we hoped it would be. That said, that's kind of an extreme circumstance, and yet it's not. Because in any family, I'm going to differ with my child, and you're going to differ with your child on how they raise their children. We can love and respect them, and we can sit back and say, you know what, their turn. And let them learn from their mistakes, let them own their role, and in no way undermine it. So let's make sure, first and foremost, that as we mentor grandkids, the message that we communicate is, you're so lucky to be in a family that loves you and that's going to do their best for you. And I'm here for you too. In doing this, we can heal a lot of mistakes that we have made in the past, and we can empower our own children to grow in their parenting as we communicate our vision and our confidence in their parenting. So just to sum it up, as grandparents, it's not our role to try to educate those children, but rather to build and inspire them. We are a level apart from parenting, and we still have a powerful stewardship as grandparents that's not parenting. So with that foundation laid, in the other segments of this part of the convention, I've talked about how to coach adulting and how to mentor adult kids. And in both of those, I recommended a 6-month inventory where you really get down to the nitty-gritty of who they are and what they're for. I'm not recommending that for the grandkids. I don't think that's our role or our stewardship, unless under the rare circumstance you are actually in the parent role. You have the primary stewardship for their daily care and learning. In that case, of course, you assume the role of the parent and at the same time do your best to still be a grandparent. And without creating a real void in the parenting role, reinforce the role of the parent. Either they're absent because of circumstances or whatever. You want those children to love and respect their parents, even if they're not available or capable of fulfilling the parenting role at that time. But that is an extreme circumstance too. I'm going to lay that aside and let's move on with what we actually do in mentoring grandchildren. Rather than doing a 6-month inventory for them, now it's time to do a 6-month inventory for you in your role as a grandparent. Here's some questions you might ask yourself. What's my mission? What's my testimony? What's my history? What's my vision? What's my counsel? What's my warning? What's my blessing? As grandparents, we have a role and a function as elders in a tribe. And historically, that's a powerful role that edifies and elevates the role of the parent without supplanting or usurping those responsibilities, and at the same time has a unifying role of instilling vision, communicating confidence, and defining culture for the broader family unit. That culture that you define should be unifying. If there are people in your family unit who opt out of certain religious observances or political preferences or whatever, your circle needs to be big enough to ignore those differences and have something bigger that matters to everyone. That's your unifying vision. Oliver's book, Freedom Shift, has a whole section on tribes and the roles in the tribes. And that's, I think, so timely for right now. It talks about the roles of grandparents. It talks about the roles of aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings and mother and father. I highly recommend that to you. These times are becoming more and more tribal. There are more multi-generational dwellings. There are more families coming together into a local area so that they're more constantly interacting and supporting one another. Knowing and understanding the roles in the tribe is a powerful thing for this time and for your role as an elder in the tribe. And in doing this, you're going to heal generations. You're going to let go of baggage, of things that you carried with you and don't want to pass on. And you're going to help and model for the people that follow you the ability to let go of that baggage and to decide what to carry forward. Because there are things that we want to leave in the past, and there are things that we want to pick up and bring with us. Deciding what those things are in this inventory is powerful. What do you want to let go of? What do you want to heal? What do you want to bring into your family culture? One of the most powerful things you can do as an elder in your tribe is to connect your people with their past, with their heritage, with their family stories, with the heroes, with the struggles of what went before. If you don't know those stories, key in, find somebody in your family if you can that knows them. Become one who collects those stories. And if your family just has a void where that is, broaden your circle and look at your national heritage or the heritage of your religious people or your ethnic or your national background. Find the stories that are very personal to you and communicate them. Become one who is a faithful witness of what has gone before and invites others to remember the values and the lessons that matter and make a difference. One of the more poignant experiences that I've had in recent years was to go through some of the writings that were collected by my mother and her mother of personal histories and narratives and letters and so forth, and realizing my granny lived through the time that I'm living through now, and seeing it's okay. Families are happy. You can go through hard things. You can let go of things that you thought you should be able to take for granted and still be okay. Families can be happy. Lives can be meaningful and joyful, even when hard things are going on. And you can make a difference for good. Watching and hearing her stories of those times was really a comfort and a confidence builder for me to realize that times change and people get through it and we're going to be fine. So connect your family with your people. Connect them with their past. It will communicate a confidence in their future. And what better lesson can you offer in mentoring those grandchildren? With this cultural paradigm of your role as an elder in your tribe and communicating confidence and instilling vision and connecting with your people and upholding the parents in their roles, I want to turn our attention now to some more practical things, some more fun things that we can do in mentoring our grandkids. As an almost empty nester, by the end of this month, we will be down to 2 adult kids still living with us. Our disabled son, who will probably be with us for the long haul, and our adult daughter, America, who's turning 20, who is his primary caregiver at this time. Everyone else will be moved out. Cool thing is, with a little bit of extra space in the house, I have room for a couple of things. One is Granny's closet for the kids, and another is Granny's closet for the moms. Now, the kids one is very similar to the TJEd closet that we describe in the phases of learning, where I have a little bit of a lending library that has phonics readers and math games and tangrams and stuff like that. I have just this place where I have, when one of my daughters-in-law came to me and said, well, Samantha is sounding out words on her own. What do you have that I could use? And so I shared with her a little book that I found to be super helpful when our kids were young. And she, quote unquote, checked that out, as well as a little book series that I loved when my girls were little. And she just borrowed those to share with her daughter. Granny's Closet for the kids also has little toddler games and little projects. There's a dress-ups tote. There's arts and craft supplies. There's jewelry making stuff. There's just projects that I can pull out at a moment's notice if we're babysitting so that the adult kids can record for mentoring the classics, or if we're doing a dad fireside for the adults and we want a project for the kids. I'm ready. I've got the stuff. So that's the Granny's Closet for kids. And it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be expensive. It's nice if it can be organized and put away, because I don't have little kids in the house anymore. And it's nice to have those, out of sight when that's not what we're about on a daily basis. And yet it's really fun to be able to pull them out and have the kids play with the basket of shells or the bucket of stuffed animals when they do come. I remember when my kids were little going to my dad's house, and he had this basket full of seashells, and the kids played with those for hours. Remember one time we went and visited Dr. Skousen, my husband's mentor, and they had a big, huge tote of Lincoln Logs, and the kids would entertain themselves for hours while Dr. Skousen and my husband would talk about, stuff. So having those things that you can pull out, that's like one of the hallmarks of Granny's house, is when you have those kinds of resources available to just pull out when the kids show up. But the Granny's Closet for moms is another cool thing. I'm always on the lookout for tools for my kitchen that I love and can share. Like, for example, we like to make water kefir. And I talk about some of the Georgic health practices that people have asked about in our Georgic health presentation. I won't go into detail there. But, we have goats. And so when the goat milk's flowing, you want to be able to make cheese because there's more than you can use. We love sourdough bread, so I have the stuff to make sourdough bread. And over time, as I see, there's a proofing basket, or there's a cheese making press, or there's a pasta roller, whatever, I accumulate extras of these things, and they go in my Granny's Closet for the moms. And from time to time, they get to come and say, oh my gosh, this is the perfect time. I'm ready to do this now. And they can take one of those jars with a hinged lid so they can make their own water kefir. Or they can have the silicone mat and the dough scraper because they're ready to start making bread. So I just, little by little, have collected things that I can share and pass on when it's time and when they're ready for it. So what would you like to put in your Granny's Closet for the kids? What would you want in your Granny's Closet for the moms? Probably won't be the same thing as I do, but that's okay, because it's about sharing what's yours. Maybe even ask what's needed. What would they want to have available? It might be something that you can provide or are happy to provide or even have already. So here's another thought. When my kids were young and my mother was still living, every time on their birthday, they knew they could expect a card in the mail, personalized to them with some little words of encouragement and affection from my mom, and in it would be tucked in a crisp, clean, brand new $2 bill. She would go to the bank and trade in some cash for these $2 bills and just kept a stash of them in her drawer. And $2 is not much to pay for a grandkid's birthday gift. When you're far away, it's kind of cool to be able to send them something really cool. So something really interesting and beautiful and distinctive. And it was something that my kids loved. It was always appreciated. And they'd get these notes from Granny, and they were always so personal and so encouraging. And they just felt wonderful when they got these notes from my mom. You and I can do that. We can put pen to paper. Go buy a little box of cards. I know Walmart used to sell them for like $1.88 for 10 of them. That's pretty cheap. And the price of the stamp is worth the moment that you give that grandkid when you give them a personalized message, where you share with them, I was looking at the sunset, or my dog came and did this, or just something cute, something fun, something personal, just a snapshot of a moment of your life, and share it with them. Or tell them, I heard that you did so well in soccer this season. I'm really happy that you're enjoying team sports. Or I heard that your friend moved away. That can sure be hard. I remember when blah, blah, blah. Just little moments, not necessarily on the phone, because when you do it in writing, it communicates something kind of special. It communicates a level of attention, and it's a little bit more durable. They can return to it over and over again and experience it new each time. If you live anywhere near your kids, you can take your grandkids on dates, kind of have a rotation where you take turns with different ones. And it can be something really simple. I remember one time I picked up my granddaughter and just took her on errands with me. We didn't get to see each other as much as some of the other kids who lived closer by. And so I picked her up, and it was really fun to have conversations with her where no one else was competing for my attention, and there was a silence when we weren't talking, so it just felt like this time was ours. You can take them on dates. Ask the parents what kind of gifts would be meaningful for them. Do they have enough toys? Would they like to build a library? Do they want connects? Do they want help with building a savings account? Ask them what would be meaningful and dial into their preferences and their priorities. And again, go back to that brainstorm that you did, that inventory about your role as a grandparent. What do you have to share? Make a plan to share it. Do you have a skill that's distinct? Do you have a talent? Maybe go for a visit with supplies for cross-stitch and show them how to make their own little cross-stitch so they can make something as a keepsake or a gift for someone. Have them help you make some fruit leather, or sit at the piano and sing with them. Whatever's yours, share it. And look for opportunities to pass on things that you value and that were fun for you and that might be of interest to your grandkids and your kids. And finally, one of the most powerful things that I've experienced in my relationships is prayer. Maybe even ask the parents or the kids directly, what can I pray for you? And become a prayer warrior for them. Know what they need, know what they're asking for, know what they're seeking, and become a prayer warrior for your grandkids. You don't have to be everything to be just right. Know that they have a powerful mission and that this time is a special time for them to be growing up. Communicate your vision and your confidence in their ability to meet the challenges of this day and how they can find joy in it, even when others around them might be stressed or worried or frustrated with the way things are going. They can know that there's meaning and there's purpose in this. You've got the perspective of someone who's lived for several decades and the connection with those who even went before. You can communicate that powerful vision, that confidence, that optimism, and that delight that they get to live in this time, and you get to be there walking that path with them.